All right, joining us now from Key West, Florida, is Stephen Nekhaila, who is the chairman of the Libertarian National Committee. And I asked for Mr. Nekhaila because libertarians generally don't want any kind of United States involvement overseas in these kinds of military actions. So I assume you object to this, right?
Yes, and thank you so much, Bill, for having me on. We, as a Libertarian Party, have been against foreign entanglements for over 50 years, since the original platform of the Libertarian Party was created. We've opposed all foreign wars, especially wars like Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and potentially a war with Iran. And we see this conflict as one that could potentially escalate and cascade into a regional conflict that could entangle the United States to have to come to the aid of Israel, which we're vehemently against. I believe that the Iranian government is first and foremost a threat to its own people. They're an authoritarian regime. I believe Israel does have the right to defend itself. I believe they are correct to be adversarial with Iran, perhaps even kinetic adversaries. But as far as the United States supplying weapons, supplying ISR, and the Israelis asking for the United States to get involved again and again, I think we're in a dangerous position where I think Trump's instincts are correct not to get involved directly with an entanglement with Iran that could spiral out of control, especially when the end game is not clear. If the end game is for Iran not to receive or to create nuclear weapons, then the Israeli attacks on supposed Iranian infrastructure should be sufficient. But as the war continues to escalate, we may find ourselves in another forever war that we may be ending up spending billions, if not trillions of dollars on, just as we have with the global war on terror over the past several decades.
Okay. So you're making a few mistakes because you're doing a lot of woulda, might, and all of that. If Iran gets a nuclear weapon, the Libertarian Party of the United States is going to look foolish because Iran is not going to get the nuclear weapon for peaceful means. They're going to use it with blackmail. They might even use it literally. They want to kill all Jews. So I don't know how any political party can say, yeah, we're okay, let Iran get a nuclear weapon. And without the United States support, not direct military, but certainly weapons and intel, the Israelis aren't going to knock out completely the nuclear facilities. They're buried under mountains, you know that. They're going to require major bombs that Israel doesn't have. So the Libertarian Party puts itself in a position of saying, if the mullahs get the nukes, that's okay. Or am I being unfair?
We believe that the best way to come to an end of this conflict would be to pursue diplomacy.
Okay, that's not going to work, and you know it. So look,
and at this point, this seems to be off the table that the Israelis have attacked the
With all due respect, we have tried diplomacy for years. If you read my column on Obama and Biden, they tried to bribe them. They tried to do everything to them. So let's live in the real world, Stephen, please, because if you don't, the discussion just goes off the rails. So right now, the Libertarian Party would be okay if the mullahs got the nukes. Now we go to Ukraine. So you don't want the United States to supply Zelensky with military gear, right?
That is correct. I believe that the further the West and NATO pushes Ukraine towards war with Russia,
it's already a war then, Stephen. It's already there. War started when Putin invaded. Okay.
Correct,
so
in 2014.
I understand that a little bit better than I understand the nuclear thing in Iran. So you don't want the United States to be involved. So if the United States isn't involved, the likelihood is that Putin takes over Ukraine because they need money and weaponry from the USA. EU can do a little bit, but we're the big dog. I just returned from China, Stephen. It is without a doubt that if the United States withdraws from helping Zelensky and Ukraine, the Chinese will seize Taiwan. militarily. They're waiting to see what happens. You'd be okay with the Chinese seizing Taiwan, right?
We believe that the Taiwanese, the Ukrainians, and the Israelis can certainly purchase weapons from our military-industrial complex. But the more and more the United States gets involved in these conflicts, either directly or through proxies, the closer this brings us to World War III and a potential nuclear escalation. I don't see an end in sight in the war with Ukraine and Russia. There was an opportunity for Russia and Ukraine to come to an agreement in Turkey. Boris Johnson told Zelensky not to capitulate to the terms of the peace agreement, that we would supply them with weapons in order to fight the Russians. And right now, the West is pushing Ukraine to fight Russia down the very last Ukrainian.
Okay,
so I don't.
But you're talking about giant countries like Russia invading Ukraine and China invading Taiwan. The little countries can't stand up. It's just like Hitler, when Hitler took Austria, and then he took Czechoslovakia, and then he went into the Tsar, and then he started rolling. It's the same exact thing that we've seen for just millennia, that the big countries with the psychotic leaders take over the little countries. But the U.S. Libertarian Party does not seem concerned about that, and that concerns me. You see where I'm coming from?
I can see your concern. I think most Americans are concerned right now with inflation. We're concerned with our tax dollars.
Okay, but you're not going to have a worldwide economy if you have disorder, social disorder all over the world. The world economy collapses. If you have China on the march, if you have Putin on the march, the worldwide economy is going to collapse. So they can be concerned about inflation, but it's going to get a lot worse if you don't have social order. I'll give you the last word.
I think the United States post-World War II did a great job expanding throughout the world economically. We became a bastion of freedom, an economic powerhouse. Now we see China becoming that economic powerhouse. We need to get back to our roots as an economic superpower and a foreign policy based on non-intervention, diplomacy, and trade, rather than being the world's policeman and weapons manufacturer. The Libertarian Party has stood strong on non-interventionalism. We want to be closer to Switzerland, not isolationist like North Korea. We believe that the United States cannot continue with these forever wars. We already pay a quarter of our taxes go straight to interest. We're going bankrupt as a country, and Americans are just weary of any new conflicts. And at this point, they're unsustainable. And the Libertarian Party sees peace as the only option, and economics and diplomacy as the true right arm of freedom and democracy from the United States.
Okay, Stephen, good. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks very much. Very good discussion. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X. Look for @Bill O'Reilly.